there were only 3 of us. So when the curtain opened, the guy had no wig on. He had felt over his head, and the audience was like a blank stare because they're like, "Who's that supposed to be? Who's that supposed to be?" It would be like, if you forgot your cosplay but only had the boots. Like, what character are you?
What's up, YouTube? This is Politics with Anthony Bolin. You might know him from One Piece, from Fairy Tail, from Dragonball Z Super.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done all that. I'm directing One Piece. I've done voices in One Piece. Yeah, director and actor.
Director and actor. We're going to talk about that in a second. All right, what got you into voice acting?
I've always loved acting. If you talk to any voice actor, there's usually that little kernel. They all went to school, and maybe did a high school play or whatever. And that was actually me. I started in middle school, loved doing theater, loved performing. And it was just one of those things where in my family, that was my role. I was like, oh, he's the actor of the family.
Yes.
So that was kind of a unique position because my father's a coach. My mother was working for a cell phone company at the time. So it was like, oh, they're just working parents. They're doing that. And I was like, I want to be an actor. So that was...
You want to be stand out from what they want.
Yeah, and not even that. It's just so different, I didn't want a traditional career path. And I grew up in El Paso, Texas. So heavily Hispanic, it's a border city. So that also is kind of a challenge because unlike in California where it's a border city there, El Paso is so close to Mexico that like the entertainment scene, like to be an actor, was very limited. So when I started discovering I loved being on stage, doing that, I moved to Dallas, went to college, and got my bachelor's of fine arts. So did that and just kind of kept acting, doing all that. And when I was going to UTA, I was in school with another now voice actor and director, Caitlin Glass, who very prominent, and she had auditioned for Full Metal Alchemist and Winry, and had gotten that. And a few months later, she invited me to come watch her record because her and I used to watch Dragonball Z together.
Yes.
So her and I were watching that. We would go rehearse plays, and then she got hired working there, and she's like, "You got to come see the place where they do all that." And then I went down there, and she was recording, and the director was Colleen Klinkenbeard, another very prominent voice actor director. And she asked if I wanted to hop in the booth and try it out. Because she goes, "Oh, you're an actor too, like Caitlin." "Yeah, we need actors because we're just starting." And that was one of those moments where it's, they say luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And it was like I had been training to be an actor, doing that. I had that skill set. And when they said, "Do you want to hop in the booth and try and do anime and do that?" I was like, let's try it. And from that, I just started getting calls to do like Beets and Walla, which is like the group actor stuff. And from there, I just kept auditioning and working till eventually, like today, I've been directing for almost 4 years now in an official capacity because I was contract directing a little bit before that. And now I've been working for 17 years in the industry. Since 2004 is when I started. So that is kind of the long, in a nutshell, like my journey of how I got into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's very detailed. I like
that. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I got to tell you. I like it too because you're like, yes.
Because people don't really talk about the full story about what happens to them to get to a point.
Yes.
They say, I just happened to be here and that happened there. But
yeah, I was here and I got hired. The end. And that's like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's simple.
So how was your time in Funimation?
It's been great. I'm still there. And Funimation's unique because it's, as a company, it's kind of like, as an actor, you don't really know the company. It's kind of like, we'll work for different studios. But now being a full-time employee and having all those friends, the other con guests that we see, I've loved growing that Funimation into like a family, and it's also kind of selfishly cool to be coworkers and friends with the people that I grew up watching.
Yes.
So it's like, oh yeah, I can call Chris Sabat on my phone. Vegeta's in my phone.
Yes.
But that's like a little nerdy thing for me. But like when I talk to him, it's like, oh no, we're cool. But that's kind of cool. That's fun. So.
I mean, like I said, I've done interviews with people before who were, like I said, my hero.
Yeah.
It's like weird because like I'm seeing them face to face, and like I have to be like, oh, professional with them. Like, this is so cool.
I was the first show I ever directed when I was contract before I got hired salary was a show called Knights and Magic, and it turned out to be a really cool show because it's just about mechs and this boy who can make cool mechs, and it's like, I'm going to make cool mechs and battle them in different kingdoms, and it's like, cool, very simple, very fun. And there was a character that came up that I was like, oh, I'd love it if Chris Sabat would play him, and they're like, well, he's an actor that you pay for roles. Do you want to ask him if you want to? And I was like, I can do that? And he's so cool because I knew him a little bit, and he's like, oh yeah, what are we doing? What do you kind of want here? And he's so, like, and that's a lot of actors, but it's kind of cool because at Funimation, you start working there, you get to know them, and then you're kind of self-aware of who you are, so then it's like I'd be in there, and I'm like, hey, Sabat, can you do this? Like, your character does this move, and he's got, like, this big golden lion. He's like, yeah, let me do that. And he goes, hold on. He goes, hey, roll another one. And the guy winds up for his, like, lion punch or whatever. And Sabat, in Yamcha's voice, goes, Wolfang Fist! And I go, how dare you, sir? That's, like, one of those, like, little moments that it's like, I'm fanning out, but we're co-workers, and it's like, you didn't have to do that, man. That's silly and fun, and that's how we like to have the attitude there. So it's wonderful to be not only in Funimation, but that has gotten me connected with so many other actors from LA and Houston and all that not necessarily would be like Funimation, but it's like, oh, we're all voice actors in anime. So that's what I think of when I think Funimation. It's like, oh, all this family that I've developed.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool.
So what is your big three for anime?
That I like?
Your personal big three.
Oh my gosh, why you gotta put me on the spot like that?
I put everybody on the spot.
Because I was gonna say, because everyone's probably like, I'm gonna say the wrong thing. And then the comment. Let me ask you, what's your big three? Because I want to see if compare. Like, do you have a big three that you like? Do you even like anime?
Yes. I'm not in depth in it.
Yeah.
But I do watch it.
Okay, because that's the thing with me. Like, I grew up watching Dragonball Z, and then
Of course, that's
quintessential.
That's my introduction to anime. Was Dragon Ball Z.
And Piccolo
But then
and Vegeta are like my heroes. I love them. They're my favorites.
I did be reminded that Digimon and Pokemon.
Yes.
So actually, those two probably was my first ones. I love Digimon.
I loved the first 2 seasons of Digimon because I thought it was really neat because it was like, okay, I'm getting into it, even though they had the weirdest name evolutions where it's like, first he's a caterpillar, then he's a fridge with a gun, then he's a giant stone statue. Like, okay, you just get it.
It works some kind of way.
But I think my big three that like, and this is not according to the world because it's just like for me, I mean, it's got to be Dragon Ball because that introduction, honestly, before Dragon Ball on Toonami, I think they were showing Sailor Moon, like the original.
I never really got into Sailor Moon.
I watched it because I didn't understand a lot of anime and thought, well, there's a reason it's here. And I was like, okay. And then Tuxedo Mask came in, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is, I get it. And then Dragon Ball Z came out, and I go, oh, that's the show I'm watching. Yeah. That's the one that I think is geared towards me. And so that one, and Yu Yu Hakusho was kind of in that vein. I started watching that, and I don't know why, it just grabbed me. It had a lot of cool arcs, great voice acting, not all the people that I loved listening to. That was one show that I wish I could have been acting at the time. I would have loved to have been just a bit part or something in that. But that one was very influential just because I started to understand that anime didn't have to be the big thing that someone was talking to you about. Yeah. And then, of course, you did come to Toonami, but then, you know, once I discovered that, now that I've been working, honestly, for the past 2 years I've been directing One Piece, and I know that that's like this, and I never understood it till I started working on it and having to get in depth with everything. I'd say that one has been one of, like, as far as scope, has taught me the most, and has shown me both good and bad, where you can see, like, I don't know if you know anything about One Piece.
A little bit.
But they'll have episodes, much like in Dragon Ball, where they have, like, the weird filler episodes that aren't from the manga, and that's where it's like, the show can sometimes shine, where it's like, oh, it's not part of the plot. They're just doing like when Goku and Piccolo went to go get their driver's license.
Yes.
It's not canonical.
It makes you more relatable to the character.
Yeah, but it's just fun to go into that world. So I think that One Piece going so long, it gives you the advantage of they're gonna have some bad episodes, but they have a lot of episodes to have fun with.
Yes.
So I'd put that up there just because that's more of like I work with that one and it's fun, but my two watching ones, I mean, Dragon Ball is gonna be at the top of my list.
Yes.
I grew up with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. What advice do you have for anybody who wants to be in the industry?
What was that?
What advice do you have for people that want to be in the industry?
Want to be in the industry? First and foremost, is voice acting is all about acting. People forget that. They think it's about, I can do an impression of this character. Well, we already have the actor who does that character. So I always tell people personally, take acting lessons, read out loud. A lot of people do audiobooks and things like that to practice talking with their voice and finding the right inflections and how performative talking, basically. That's the biggest thing, and then kind of honing that skill, get yourself an agent and a demo. If you want to be an actor, be an actor. Go all in. It's very easy to not be an actor if you are not willing to take the risk. And that's why you surround yourself with good people who are going to support you, because if you do falter, they're there to just have your back and say, we got you, just keep going, you're going to get through this, and that helps it. So even though I went a different path than what my parents thought, they were super supportive of like, that's cool and unique and your thing, and if you want to do that. And of course my father very much, get your degree, go to school, do that, like you have to make sure that, and that was my version of something to fall back on, but it ended up working out really well. So that's like the biggest advice is a good, group of support and investing in yourself, getting classes, making sure you're giving your best product.
Yes.
You're selling your voice as a product. You are the item right there. So yeah.
So you do stand up as well.
I work with it is an improv troupe. So what's fun is that we'll do a mix of things. If you've ever seen the show, older show, like Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's still on now.
It's
still
not as
doing
good
it.
as though.
It's not as good as the old days.
But you have to have some of the same people, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
I guess when I was younger, it had a different context to it.
It did. They had.
As you're older now, you're like,
Well, it was also new. Like, you hadn't really seen a lot of that. Kind of like the way that anime's grown. Not a lot of people knew it then, and D&D has grown. But yeah, so I've been doing that the same time as anime. I started out of college. I started taking improv classes, which have tremendously helped with my directing and my acting. So that's another skill. Like, find other skills. You never know what will tie into that. And yeah, I actually just pseudo retired from that troupe. I was with them for 17 years, and New Year's was our last live show, or my last live show, because I was like, hey, 17 years, every weekend I have been here entertaining people Friday and Saturday night. I have not seen my wife, and on a Friday we have not had a date night. We have not gone out of town for the weekend, and especially now in a pandemic when you need to get out of the house, it's like, I'd love to just drive with my wife somewhere, go whatever. And so that was a nice step to say, I love entertaining people, I love doing improv, but now I get to do cool stuff like go to more cons on the weekends, not have to worry about I'm missing work and doing that. So but sorry, I went over that. But yeah, I've been doing improv and comedy for 17 years too, and that's all just kind of part of the package.
Well, the question was actually, what's your most embarrassing story from?
Oh, my most embarrassing, man. Why you got to do? I thought it was gonna be like, let's do this, and now you're putting me on the spot. I like it.
Hard question.
Okay, good. It's hard-hitting journalism because, the most embarrassing thing that happens there is not. I don't know if there's been one thing, but the worst is when you get just Friday night, Saturday nights, groups of drunk people or a bachelorette party. Embarrassing. I don't know if I've been embarrassed, but it's one of those where it's like, oh, well, what are you gonna do? Like, here we are. There was a time where we were very short-staffed. We didn't have anyone backstage. And when we perform, we'll put on costume pieces to, like, emphasize stuff so that it's like, oh, yeah, it's a full show. Like, we do lights, sound, music, we'll sing. So we like to put, much like Whose Line, but add, like, a more theatrical thing to it. So our last thing that we do at the end of the night is, let's say, I'm the improviser, and I'll say, oh, I want to talk to you. I pick you out of the audience, and we talk for a while, and I say, what do you do? You know, are you married? Do you have kids? What do you like to do for fun? And once I get all that info, and we're talking on stage, and we throw the football with them so they kind of don't think about what they're doing, we say thank you, they go sit down, and we're like, all right, well, I want to be just like that person. And then the lights go down, and when they come back up, me and another guy might be two people working where you work, and we'll say, oh, you know, we need someone to do this one thing that might be your job. And then someone will come and be like, well, we know the guy for that. And his name is, and then we'll say the name of whoever we pick from the audience. And one of the guys, the whole time we were interviewing you, was finding clothes to look like you. So when we announce it, they would come from backstage dressed as the guy on stage and would be like, all the information you gave. He's like, yeah, I just with my wife and my kid, and I was at work. And we just play a day in the life with them. Well, one time when we did that, when we were short-staffed, no one could help us dress. One person's writing down information to be like, oh, you know, so we can review it and be like, what did he say his name was? Oh, it was this. What does his wife do? This. Okay, cool. Go get a costume. There were only 3 of us, so when the curtain opened, the guy had no wig on. He had felt over his head, and the audience was like a blank stare because they're like, who's that supposed to be? Who's that supposed to be? It would be like, you know, if you forgot your cosplay but only had the boots. Like, what character are you? And we just had to stay on stage, and that's kind of like, man, that's like a band going out without their instruments. Like, we kind of fumbled on the joke. The whole joke was that it was supposed to look like them, but we just kind of kept going, and we were laughing. I don't know if the audience liked it, but that's one of those where it's like, it's embarrassing because you got to finish the show. They know you screwed up. We know we screwed up. But it's like, what are you going to do? We're here. We're doing a comedy show, and if we can make them laugh, we did our job.
Exactly.
So I'll say that not embarrassing, but moments like that with the audience, I mean, it's unpredictable. They'll do whatever.
Yes.
So, yeah.
What are some of your favorite lines from what you did for voice acting?
A couple of lines, like character lines.
Yeah, what's your favorite one?
Oh my god, my favorite one.
What you done?
There's one of my first characters that I really got to dig into is a character named Alciel or Ashia from Doubles of Part-Timer. Very much like me. He Doubles of Part-Timer is a story about, it's almost like Coming to America, but with demons, which I was like, yeah, I love that. I'm into that. Let's do it. And basically, the devil from another dimension, it's like I'm the Demon King, and his general, who I play, accidentally gets sent through a portal to Earth, and they don't have their powers because they're from another dimension. So they're like, my stomach hurts, what's happening? And they're like, I think we need to eat. And they're like, oh, we need food. How do you get food? And they don't know English yet, so they're speaking their weird demon language and all that, and it's a comedy. And as I said, it's like Coming to America, but with like an anime, and the devil has to get a job at a fast food place, and the general stays at home like the housekeeper and has to be like, I'll run the house. So it's funny to see the devil like, I'll conquer this order, and he makes his black pepper fries, and then the demon general is like, please, sir, you need to save your money. You know, we're getting that. And I thought that being a demon general would mean, I get to fight. I get some cool battle scenes. And every time my character's supposed to fight, he leaves to get his cape because he has to look cool when he fights. And then whenever he gets back, every time the battle's over. And so there's a moment where he's dying, and he's like, sir, don't forget your cape. And he's like, sir. And then they're like, no, sure, stay with us. And he's like, also, you need to save money, so on Tuesday they do a 2-for-1 special at the movies. Please save money, sir. And he's like, you're going to live. And he's like, we need to save money.
Dedicated to service.
And I love that. Fun things like that, so whenever anyone says, oh, Alciel, I'm like, don't forget your cape. So that's one of my favorites that I do there. Another one is there's a newer character from a longest title show the cautious hero is overly cautious, I think. But you might have seen, he looks like a guy in a suit, black hair, he has a shoulder pad. That's like it. He has like shoulder pads and looks like in a black suit. But that one's fun because he's down here. Where the other guy's all high and peppy, he just talks down here and one or two words. What are you doing? I'm prepared. Okay. And he's the lead, and the other co-lead, she does all the talking for him. So I love that because all of my lines are pretty much quotes. Yeah. So people are like, oh, say the one thing. And I'm like, cool, anything I say is his line. So he'll always say, I'm perfectly prepared. Just like, okay, are you ready? He's like, I'm perfectly prepared. I'm 100% got this. I'm like, okay, you going to do this? And he's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, and so those are some of the voices, and I like them because they're also two opposite ends. Alciel has to be this, and I'm tired at the end of it, and I'm like, oh, my voice can't go that high anymore. And then the other one's just like, oh, I could do this all day. just right here. So, yeah, that's one of my favorites. I think I like those, not so much for just the quote, but also like how fun the voice is to say the quote, too. Okay. So, yeah, those are a few.
Yeah. You have anything you want to promote or say?
So I'd say right now, if you'd like to check out anything I've done, you can look me up on Twitter, at Bowling, my last name, BOWLING, the number 4day, at Bowling4day. And then I'm also on Instagram, AnthonyBowlingVA.com, and bowling is spelled just like the sport. That's usually where I post con appearances, any new characters, just like industry stuff. Like that's where I like to talk to the anime fans and all that. Yes. So yeah, if anyone wants to reach out, any cons or anything like that, I love to go and talk with people. As you can tell, I'll keep going.
Your panels was great though.
Oh, thank you. And that's why I love going to cons, and that's why we don't get to see that. We don't get to see what our work does for people sometimes. And and especially being Hispanic too, huge advocate for POC for voice work, and that's super important now. There's so much negativity, so much people that get upset, like, oh, you can't play that character. Why? They sound great as that character. So that's something too that I like to promote on those. I use my platforms there to definitely, if there is anyone, I come from a mixed family. I know there's a lot of people who have problems with either my parents were immigrants or I come from mixed and identity issues basically. And that's something that I heavily advocate. So my two platforms, I also love to talk and support people and help them out if they have questions, because I've been through it, and if I can pass on, that kind of help, then absolutely.
Follow-up question. Yeah. Because you was talking. You like to meet people and fans. Does that help you with directing when you directing something? Do you get input from your fans on how to change? Well, you can't really change too much stuff.
Yeah, but I like to find out sometimes, because sometimes there might be a season 2 or One Piece, how it keeps going. I like to ask people, hey, do you like the dub, the sub? Oh, why do you not like the dub? Oh, well, if you did, what voice? Or finding out, as you said, we can't really change anything, but I still like to find out if someone maybe says, oh man, there's this character coming up, I think this actor would be fun to play them. And me as a director, I can be like, that is a pretty good idea. Do a lot of people think that? And yeah, sometimes it's kind of neat because, as a director, I don't always have all the answers. I'm just a guy with a job. So I need to have a little bit of that humility and say, your opinion's just as valid as mine. I know the industry better, but maybe if you come up and you're like, hey, I know this actor and they've done this, and that, and I think they'd be great as this character. I wish they would play that. Then I could say oh, hi, hey, I'm a director. You want to talk about that? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, well, it's because they've done this and that. And that helps me inform, too, where maybe that actor might not get that, but I can say, I've asked people about the plot. And hey, so what's the story with this part? I love talking to fans about that because it's also, they're passionate about it. So I can be only so passionate for a show that I started on episode 600. Yeah. One Piece is now in the 800, so I don't have 600 episodes of watching that and growing with the characters. I didn't watch it. It was too big. Yeah.
So that's one of the things. I know the characters by seeing them, but like you said, it's just
It's too big. And a lot of them look similar or have different outfits, and you're like, is that his same or is that his brother? I don't know what's happening. But I'll say that that's kind of, part of that whole experience, just saying it's just so massive. Like, how do you handle all of that? But talking with fans, a fan will say, I know everything from episode 1 to this, and I'll say, okay, so let me ask you a question. I've looked this up. Is that true? And they'll say, no, that's a common misconception or this. And I'll say, cool, thank you. Now I feel like I have a better understanding of my show. So when someone asks me that, I'm not like, well, I don't know, but I should.
You being active with your job, you actually getting to know the fans and actually like being part of it. Like you want to make sure that it's put out right.
Yes.
You want to make sure everything is done correctly.
Yeah.
And instead of just getting a paycheck, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's why I love coming to cons too, where someone comes up. It's like it's nice to have something for your time, but it's like I want to find out how do you know, what do you like to watch, what do you like to do here, because all that does is make me better at my job, And when people ask me, I don't know a good show to show to my kid, I might say like, I've got some stuff if you want to introduce your kids to anime, like. Growing the community too. Anime fans being here, it is a great community for people. And why wouldn't you want to be? If someone likes my voice work, why would I not be kind to them? They are helping me have a career. They are, helping me get better and all that. It's some people do it. Might say, I don't like you and I hate you, and it's like, okay, there's going to be negative, there's going to be positive, but somewhere in the middle, there's a lot of good information that will help you grow and do that. So that's another reason I love talking to fans. Even if someone comes up and says, I don't know who you are, and it's like, cool, hey, I'm just a guy. Do you want to talk? And sometimes they're like, I do know what you're in. And sometimes they're like, hey, no, I haven't really, because I only watched 2 shows and you're not in them, but I like talking to you. You're a very nice person, and thank you. I might want to check out one of your shows. And that's kind of neat, too, where it's like, you liked me for me. Thank you. So that's we're all seeking that. I think we're all looking for these connections. So, yeah, I love it. I love meeting people.
Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with me real quick.
Yes.
You do have more projects coming out here, like you said. One Piece.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for the One Piece.
The One Piece will be going on for a while. So
The One Piece.
The One Piece.
But thanks for watching, everybody. This is Pop
thank
Tech
you.
with Anthony.